first of all, a bit of introduction about the speaker. So we have Ratna here today, who is the product chief at KTern.AI. Ratna himself is quite a successful businessman, 25 years of digital transformation expertise. He's been a part of 2 successful startups in the US, more than 15 years of experience with respect to SAP. And beyond being the product chief of KTern.AI, he's also the co-founder and board member of a company called Technologies, which is a 25 mil USD professional services firm with locations across the globe. So they started off in India, but of course they are present in the Middle East, in the West, in Europe. So pretty much any location you look into, Kartek is present. And Ratna was an instrumental person in that company's growth. And right now, of course, he is steering the ship for KTern.AI. On the personal front, of course, he's always been an avid athlete, been involved in football, been involved in cricket, and of course, I'm sure he's up to date with IPL as well. And of course, involved in a lot of CSR initiatives as well. So that's a quick summary about the speaker himself. So Ratna, with that note, perhaps I'll hand it off to you. I'm sure the people in here today are excited to hear what you have to say. So Ratna, over to you.
All right, thanks, Akhil. Are you able to hear me? Is my audio okay?
Yes, Ratna, it's fine.
All right. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who has joined in. I think we are living in extraordinary times, and wish everyone is safe. And really appreciate you taking time and getting into this call. So the agenda for today would be spread across 3 things. I would talk about what is digital transformation, and what are the drawbacks of just a digital transformation. In short, we call it DX. And what is DXRs, which is a new emerging thing, and probably we are the ones globally who are trying to drive it. Probably the top 1 or 2 companies, product companies, who are driving this DXRs. And then the platform itself, which is KTern, which is a DXS automation platform. So overall, I would take 5 to 7 minutes to set the context, and then I would jump into the driving the demo of the platform itself. So thank you for joining again. So digital transformation, if you really look at it, 3-4 years back, when there was a huge push for the enterprises to get into DX, and you know what we realized was it was more siloed. It had a set of system integrators or infra providers coming together and doing a transformation, and it would be a one-off event. And then what happened post that was a question. So most likely you would see the transformation projects failing to reach the designated objectives. These are statistics from research companies where 4 to 5 out of the total DX initiatives fail to reach the goal. And then, you know, constant churn in terms of people holding it. And then if you really look at it, there is not much that enterprises have realized in terms of the digital transformation itself. And what you would have after a digital transformation would be a siloed data, people dependent, and you know, inability to innovate further. And typically it would run for 4 to 5 years, or sometimes even 1 to 2 years, and then there was no continuous planning or continuous improvement in terms of the data that's present at the enterprise level. So that was the real challenge, and that's when we realized that, you know, we should probably look at a continuous improvement platform, and that's how this whole platform KTern was born, which is digital transformation as a service, or we call it as DXRs. DX is for digital transformation, and the whole platform is available as a service. So there is continuous improvement in terms of how the different parties could play together in terms of driving the organization. Of course, it's all mostly customer centric. The platform itself is driven by the data that's present at the enterprise level. And so there's one unified vision of how we handle the data and what to do with that, most specific to the SAP transformation, and where you could have a more of a agile mindset in terms of driving innovation. So you could start anywhere, but you wanted to ensure that there is continuous uh, transformation in terms of how innovation is brought into the enterprise. So if you really look at it, it has to be cognitive, and then have the complete end-to-end solutions in terms of doing the planning and the change, and doing iterative tuning in terms of the business process optimization that you can do with the whole platform itself. The center part of this whole thing is data, of course. So data is spewed around, remains in a siloed way with different business units, and how do we get the data that's in the enterprise level and make some sense out of it, and come up with latent needs that an enterprise would require, more focused in terms of customer. And all this would require a shift in terms of how we want to do it, agile way of doing things. Start small, fail fast, and keep doing the innovation, keep doing the services that you provide in a better way, and how can it be more data driven. And that in itself requires a continuous collaboration between the different stakeholders to drive this whole initiative. And what you get in the end is a complete unified system, not function units or business units, which is separate and have their own set of data, but it's all interrelated, and have a business process that can be continuously monitored, improved. So that's where DXS comes into play. I've been in SAP for almost 15 to 20 years, and overall experience of 26, 27 years. And if you really look at SAP, they have also come up with something called RISE with SAP, which is business transformation as a service. And yeah, if you're able to understand that and compare to what we have, this is the platform itself that we have in terms of SAP DX's automation platform. So the whole idea of KTern is to have continuous improvement, starting from, and if you look at any customers in their journey towards transformation, they would start with a planning on how to go about it, and then a governance and cadence in terms of executing a particular transformation. And then you do a digital orchestration of the different business processes, and then continuously test the new processes that has been put in place, and do continuous improvement, and also doing continuous testing in terms of the processes itself, and then do an optimization in terms of the business operations that you do. So for the whole gamut of the digital transformation, KTern as a platform has got different streams. In terms of planning, it has got digital maps, and then you would have digital projects, which takes care of the governance, which would serve as a collaboration hub between different stakeholders in terms of driving a particular initiative or a transformation within any enterprise, and all that available in one platform. And then the heart of it is the processes itself, because all these things is to understand what the existing system has, and then drive it using the SAP Activate or any other methodology that you might have, and have the process in terms of the orchestration. And then digital labs is a stream which helps you in terms of the digital assurance, in terms of how the processes has been mapped in an organization, and how we test it on different releases or upgrades that happens on a continuous way. And once the whole process or the digital transformation is in run mode, you have Minds, which takes care of the business optimization. Right now, all this is continuous, because we believe that digital transformation is not a one-off project. It has to be continuous, and that's why we call it digital transformation as a service. Now, all this is built in a platform, which is a SAP DX's automation platform. And the major drivers of this platform is a HANApedia engine. It's a knowledge-based engine that's been built over the last 15 years of we driving SAP business, and then the best practices that's available, assets that's available within SAP itself. And then we have a business ops engine, which is more about the process mining in terms of how the existing processes are mapped, try to make sense of the data that's available within the enterprise world. And then the whole platform is very cognitive in nature, meaning it understands how it is running right now, and what are the different things that can be suggested, or where we can build twin builders of how the existing processes and how the new process would behave. And it completely connects the people, process, and tools. It also has an integration engine where it could integrate with the top products in terms of collaboration, or any other integration that you want to drive within the platform itself. And then we have something called a materiality analysis. This is more about the business criticality of how a process is designed and what we should do. So we have a rule engine in terms of analyzing the value, volume, and velocity of the processes that's currently configured. And the whole platform has containers in terms of different roadmaps. It could be a conversion or a transformation, or it could be anything that's related under the SAP umbrella. And then you have the process model orchestrator, where you have the processes that's mapped. And all this can be delivered to the end customer using the workflows that we have as part of the engine itself, which is more of a digital assurance in terms of how we do it. So this is the platform itself, and we are looking at having the SAP customers, the SAP system integrators, the SAP partners, and along with the KTern digital bot, how we could drive this in one unified platform is what DXS is all about. So before I jump into the demo and show you the actual platform, these are the different places that's currently present, and it's growing at a speed that we never expected. This is about the platform for the connected enterprises. We are available in the SAP store. It is also part of a qualified partner package solutions available as part of G2 in terms of the feedback and review that you could look at. But in terms of data itself, and this is growing, there's quite a lot of data that we have analyzed and made sense out of it. We have leveraged heavily on the third platform, meaning AI ML is continuously used as part of the platform to drive value to the end customer. And these are the different use cases where you could do a SAP digital transformation, a transition planning, greenfield, or do a change impact analysis, continuous SAP testing, and many more. These are a few lists, and these are the few logos that we're happy to present that we work with them as well. So before I jump into the platform and show you the actual demo, just wanted to again reiterate that in any transformation, you look at doing an assessment and a plan, and then the various processes that's mentioned here, or various activities, is completely done by the product itself in terms of understanding what the assess process and what the to-be process should be for a digital transformation or S/4HANA transformation. And KTern also analyzes the custom objects, because there's quite a lot of investment that's driven towards customization, and we ensure that that's being taken care, and it also provides a roadmap. And then in terms of the governance itself, there is, the whole governance is done towards through Activate. And in the work items in terms of collaboration and the sign-off workflows, that's covered using digital projects. And the whole process of the enterprise is handled using the digital process that we have in terms of scope item orchestration and the materiality analysis, which we spoke earlier. And also the testing part is handled using the digital labs where you could do continuous testing, get the right data set to do the testing, and it's all UI and API driven. And then you also have on the run mode in terms of understanding the change impact and optimized test path and business ops as well. So all this is covered as part of the DX's automation platform. So I would quickly get into the demo, but before that, just a quick poll so that we know you pretty well, and so that we could structure the way forward in terms of doing what we have. Right. While the poll is going, let me go ahead and launch the demo. But yeah, please feel to vote on the poll. So let me go to the product itself, the platform itself. So this is our website. You could view the demo here, learn more about the platform, the partners, and what it has. You also have a trial version here. You have resources about the product and the webinars that we do on a monthly basis across the DXR. So with that, let me jump into the demo. The platform itself is SaaS based. It's hosted on the hypercloud. And so this is your launchpad where you could drive your transformation. You could add any number of projects, but this is a demo version. So we're looking at a S/4HANA transformation. So assuming the use case of where a customer is an ECC and wanted to move to S/4HANA, how do we handle it using the platform, and what are the benefits that you get? So on the left menu, you see the workspace, the transformation hub, projects, maps, process, labs, and mind. So these are the 5 streams. So the whole thing is about managing the workspace, given the times that we live in, where you cannot have consultants at the customer place all the time, and people working from home. How do you have all the stakeholders collaborate at one place? So that's what this workspace is all about. It's we call it the digital workspace or the transformation hub, where you can handle all your work items in terms of collaborating. It could integrate with your Outlook calendar, have the set of items for an individual, or track your team on how they are working and what they are doing currently. All this is configurable widgets that you could have track your complete team at one place. Calendars can be configured here, a work item tracker, and who's working on what and how we are doing in terms of the work being executed, right? So Akhil, am I okay with are you guys able to see my screen, Akhil? Just want to do a quick check.
Yes, Ratna, yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
Okay, got it. Right, so that's the workspace itself. But if you come below, you have a transformation hub where you have the dashboard, the complete control center in terms of driving your project, sign off, a timeline to have your projects that you could measure. So we'll come to that a little later, but first I would want to show why it's cognitive in nature. So there is a connector that you have to download, and you can connect to any of your SAP system, be it a sandbox, quality, or a development. Production is something that we don't normally recommend, but yeah, you could also connect to a production box. So it becomes cognitive in the nature, meaning you could connect to ECC, S4HANA, Ariba, or SuccessFactors, or S4HANA public cloud. You could connect to any of the SAP system, and then it starts working that way. So it's as simple as downloading a connector. This is a demo system, and then you can just like details you can enter, and then you do a connect. It gets connected with your existing SAP system. Now, The best part of this platform itself is it's not invasive, meaning there are no probes or no add-ons that has to be deployed on the ECC. It gets connected on the fly, very non-invasive, and that's one thing that we architected or designed so that it stays away from putting anything on the customer box. So once you do the connection, I spoke about the 5 streams. So let me just quickly touch upon the digital maps. What it does is basically it does a complete assessment of your existing data. And assuming the use cases that you wanted to move from ECC to S4HANA 1909 or 2020. So what it does is it connects, and depending upon the size of the data and the complexity of the infra that you might have, it can run for anywhere from 2 days to 5 days. But most of the things we did run a 12 TB data, and it was able to get things done in 5 to 6 working days, right? So once you run it, this is the information that you get. This is the data that you get across the uh, different streams present here. So you would have all the information in terms of the landscape, the active users, the license that can be optimized, the add-on analytics, archiving recommendations, the interface review. Now, what it does is, before you embark into a transformation or move from an ECC to S4HANA, it kind of understands your system and provides you data that the consultants or the partners can utilize in terms of the number of interfaces, and the icon that you see has a detailed view. But yeah, since I want to cover all the 5 streams, I'll not get into the details, but if you click on this, you get more information, right? And then it also does an assessment on the process itself, right? This is the assess process scan that it does across the different modules and gives a percentage of how the usage has been in the current ECC system. So you could click on this one. So just for one, I'll do a click and get into a detailed view, but it'll give you a detailed view of the number of prominent modules. And we spoke about the materiality score, which is the business criticality part of it, and how these modules are stacked. And then once you come down, you have the complete details, spanning across the users, what is a transaction that's been heavily used, and we also do a ranking in terms of the different transactions used, right? So with that, it would help you to plan your transformation journey in terms of the timeline, in terms of what you want to do. And of course, this is collaborative in nature. It just doesn't give a set of reports, but you can invite different stakeholders to take a look at it and see what needs to be done. And similarly, the complexity analysis of the whole landscape in terms of new GL or the special purpose ledger, the business partner, and things like that. So all this is automated. All this is something that you don't have to can do it in a jiffy or within like 3 to 5 days. And it has got more information, process profiling, the scope items at the nth level or the L6 level, we call it, where it is LOB, process group, and scope item variant. So the different T codes that are there, and the users who are extensively using it. So that's the kind of information you get, and what you do, and of course you have a detailed view here. And what it essentially does is it provides you a complete information of how the current system is configured and what you have. It also gives a process profiling in terms of how a particular P2P process or the OTC process. So a complete process discovery and a mapping is done using our platform, right? So it also gives a complexity profiler, the status of the simplification items, SAP, the change that SAP is bringing in each of the versions. It's mentioned here, and you can get into the details and find what is there in terms of the changes and what is applicable for the current chain, the reference OSS nodes, and the whole lot of information, right? So once you have this as a master data, right, and it also covers more information, but the training scenarios that would be required when you move to the new world and things like that. And then it also gives a complete view of the custom objects, because there's a heavy customization that customers might have used. So it gives you the a complete data about how the customization is present, what are the total number of enhancements, modifications. Of course, you could click on this and get into a detailed view and find out what is there, the summary of impacted objects, impacted cases, and how it's cutting across different modules. And then it also gives a detailed view of the optimization that you could do, because few customers would want to do a optimization before they embark into S/4HANA. So you have all that information at the detailed level, right? So that's also available. And then you keep coming down the number of impact cases, the high optimization cases within these different optimization that you can do on the query side, and the users that are involved, who should be involved in terms of testing, and the reference notes also that comes automatically for you. Right, so we spoke about the landscape part, we spoke about the process, the access part, and then we also spoke about the custom objects. And now the best part of the platform itself, it tries and gives you information in terms of what is the best path to take for a particular customer. So if you are a system integrator and you want to drive a fit gap a workshop with the end customer, it would give you an option of what are the different processes that's more relevant to this particular industry, right? So it would also give the optimized process suggestion. It could be it could be anything in terms of what was relevant to that particular customer. It also has a process trainer that you could launch to find more information about this process. This would help you to do your fit gap better with the customer, right? So, and it also talks about who are the different users that would be involved in terms of this particular processes, right? And then it also gives you a list of Fiori apps that because of course most of you would know that the user experience that SAP has brought in the new version has Fiori apps. It could be WebIntro or ABAP WebIntro transactional. So that suggestion is also done in a very, very automated way, right? So you have all that information available to try the workshop, to understand more that could be done. And of course, a different view in terms of how you want to drive it. So all this is done in like 5 to 6 days. I don't know if there's any other tool that could do, but yeah, it also gives the high relevancy, the list of users, the Fiori apps, and things like that. So this is the starting point for us. So we spoke about 5 streams. I briefly touched upon the workspace, and then you have the digital maps, and it keeps and there are more tabs or more results that could be configured as part of this. So this serves as the master data. And then with that, we mentioned about the cadence and the governance that you would be able to drive a project. So if you're doing a transformation project, or if you're doing something on the LOB side in terms of success factors or Ariba or Fieldglass or any other transformation, or technical transformation, it could be anything. We could just import that map, right? And it gives you a complete roadmap of how you want to drive it with the steps, and then the different PMO office or the project managers could completely drive it in terms of driving the project, right? So the best part is you don't have to. I mean, with lots of test cases and test management happening, you don't want to do it in an Excel or a static way of driving your project. Because the plan keeps changing and you want to drive more, so you have a complete timeline of how you want to drive your project, all embedded within this, right? So you have a complete way of driving your project using the planner here, the planning board that's present as part of this platform. And of course, you have a view to do bulk updates and things like that. And then you have dashboard in terms of reporting, more specific for the. So this is one place where the system integrator, the customers, the partners, SAP collaborate and look at who's working on what, the work item tracker in terms of different things. That's completely the transformation hub. And all this is available for you as a knowledge base. So once you are a partner who signs up for this DXS platform, you could keep building your own knowledge base, and that's available as part of the complete application, right? The complete platform. So so if you really go and drill it down further and take a look at it of a particular task, of course, each task has a task wizard, the stakeholders, the planned and actual state diagram, where it is now the particular task. You could use it as a storage to have the files discussion forum, a work item hierarchy, and of course a knowledge base. This is the one that I spoke about. It comes with a standard knowledge base that's available, but you could keep adding the own knowledge that you want to have, so that even when people leave, all that information is digitized and stored at one place. So a particular task or a process would be able to know where we are, and anyone coming in new wiki notes history and the references of how you drive a complete task. Uh, the birth and end of a task is completely managed and it's available anytime for you to take a look at it. And then you have the calendar, files, forum, and different things, right? So that's about the workspace, the digital workspace, where you could drive more. But before I get into the other things, I just wanted to touch upon the process. Now, the digital process. So we spoke about maps briefly, about the scan. We also spoke about the projects, where you have the face kernel, the dashboard. You also have a complete control center in terms of driving the scope, a risk register where it would prompt if there are any risks that you have, the complete communication with different stakeholders. The whole organization can be mapped here, and then you have a sign off that you can drive, because all this digital transformation is a shared responsibility of the partner as well as the end customer. So you bring in the whole organization, you sync up the organization, and then you have you can drive completely based on the sign off that we have. So you could have workflows in terms of driving the process, driving the quality gate, and have different stakeholders sign off digitally. So you won't have to do it manually or over the email. All that is available here, and you should be able to drive the complete workflow for a particular deliverable or things like that, right? So that's the whole idea here. And yeah, so if you really look at it, you can drive the sign-offs based on the different processes, and that's all available at one place. So you should be able to, yeah, drive the complete processes, have a grip of what is happening, and things like that, right? And then you have an explorer view as well, where you can have the complete view of what is happening. So if you look at this, and for a particular process to be up and running, you have different stakeholders, the subject matter experts, the people from the system integrator side, the consultants, and the SAP all working together at one place to ensure that accounting and financial closure as a process is signed off and it's running. So that's the whole idea of having it at one place, so that you kind of have a digitized place to drive your transformation. Right, that's a brief on the projects, and I also spoke about the timeline. But yeah, before I come back to this transformation hub, I spoke about the My Workspace. I spoke about the maps, which is a scan of the existing system. I spoke about the products. The process catalog itself, if you look at it, most of the enterprises that we have worked, we have done close to 300 or 350 plus projects, SAP projects, as a company, and most of the time, what we have realized, and the view that we have taken, the reason why SAP projects fail and what are the things that should be covered in one platform is the whole idea of this of KTern, right? So if you really look at it, the process catalog is, if it is an existing system or if it is a system that you want to set it up, you could have the complete BPML or the global scope items. That's how it's called right now. The erstwhile version was BPML. So you could have the complete process catalog as part of uh, the digital process, and you could basically have the complete processes managed here. So if you look at the process item wizard, like how we had a work item wizard as part of the projects activate, we have something called process item wizard. In the digital project itself, before I get deeper into the process, it supports activate methodology, it supports the Kanban, the backlog, workflow. So activate itself is a combination of a waterfall and agile methodology. So it supports both, and it can support any kind of methodology that SAP prescribes, or you could come up with your own custom methodology that you want to upload and drive it within the customer place. As far as the process is concerned, we have the industrial maps for at least 25 industry verticals, and you could pick and choose from any of those verticals, which could be used as the reference to guide for you to drive the process at a customer place. Again, we have got our the own business criticality of each process in terms of value, volume, and velocity. Value itself is the dollar value. Volume would be the frequency, and velocity is the speed at which the transaction happens. This would be more in terms of the number of transaction that happens or the process that used. So the reference itself, again, we spoke about the HANApedia engine, so it would give you references in terms of what we have as part of a particular process. You could do modeling as well. You could just click and draw here, create your own processes. Timeline, stream, files, discussion history. The good part of the collaboration also comes everywhere. But yeah, if I take up a particular process, for example, I would pick up something in ordination master data. So if I go here, it would give a scope item. Okay, there's no references found, but if there are references found, it would pop you up with the references for a particular industry, right? So that is also possible as part of the process catalog, and that's how we kind of link it with the project that we have. So this could be referenced with the with the work items while it is being executed by the end customer. So you have a complete abstract view of what process being run and what you want to do with that. You could add a new process item and then it gets reflected. So these are the different levels that we maintain as far as process concerned, starting from LOB to process group, scope item variant, process step, and an activity, and that and the subject matter experts from the customer side and the materiality itself. Now that could be quite interesting in terms of how it plays with SAP in a cognitive way. But yeah, that's something new. And then we also have something as part of the custom code cockpit, where we do recommendations on the customizations that the customers would have done. So it gives a complete catalog of all the objects, the price objects and everything, and then does terms of auto recommendation, analyze, and remediation options is also possible. That you can drive it using the digital process. It gives a complete dashboard of how the custom objects are present in the current ECC system. So we spoke about the maps, which is the analysis of your existing system, the projects, and the process itself. Now, once you get into driving your project, you might want to do a continuous testing in terms of how your processes are behaving, right? So you have a test suite dashboard, you have a cockpit. This is what we spoke about, the materiality analysis in terms of the different transaction codes, the test cases, passed versus fail, and the complete dashboard in terms of managing your testing strategy, or we call it as the digital assurance. And then you have a test suite cockpit where it comes up with a recommendation in terms of driving the testing. So you could do a API-based testing or a screen-based testing. This is more of a catalog in terms of different plans that you can maintain, the stakeholders that will be involved in terms of driving the testing. You could do you could record test cases, you can schedule it, you can do integrated testing. The autonomous console itself is an emerging field. We have made an attempt here to see how we could map the testing roadmap itself. So if it is an existing system, it would do a business discovery, it would prepare the test cases, it would execute, to do a auto documentation, monitor, sign off, and manage the whole bot, right? So that's possible. Right, so when I look at the status console, for example, it would give me the complete process run. So testing in terms of discovering, prepare, execute, document, monitor, sign off, and manage. So this is more of a card view. It also gives a catalog view where it discovers the data that would be required in terms of doing the testing and preparation in terms of the bot that runs to prepare the different test cases that's available. Also the script sequence. This is more of an API based for the standard processes, but if it's more custom process, you always have a visual based, screen based recording that you could do. But yeah, if you really look at the execute part, it does a execution in terms of integrating the different test cases. So if you really look at it, it would give you information in terms of how the testing itself is being done, the different steps that it would have gone through, the different defects that it can automatically throw, and the history about how you manage it. So the complete test management, auto recommendation, execution, all that is done at one platform, right? So that's a beauty of this platform itself. But yeah, there's quite a lot we could do a dedicated demo as well, but just wanted to show how things would look like in terms of the execution, in terms of the documentation. You could do the auto documentation. You could do the complete monitoring of the test cases. You could do the sign off of the different processes, which we showed earlier, so that people are able to manage and then run it and see a summary of different test cases that has been run. The API itself is more for the standard process. Custom process has to have a Fiori test case or a Fiori connector that we have that's used for a screen-based recording and playing back. So that's something that we have as part of the digital labs, which essentially drives the digital assurance. All right. So we spoke about the workspace, remote workspace, you could call it, or a digital workspace, where you have teams from different geography working at one workplace, and then the projects itself, the labs, and then the final one is the mines. Mines is all about continuously monitoring the processes that you would have. So we have something called the business productivity in terms of trying to map the different processes, not straight away the OTC or procure to pay or accounts payable, accounts receivable, but you could look at the discovery that you had done using KTern at the digital maps could be used to map the processes that you have. And while on the run mode, we do lots of analysis and come up with some good information and insights about how the process is being done, and then also have a kind of detect anomalies and present that to you. The whole of process mining or the digital mines itself is still in the beta version, but we have been able to run it with few of our trusted, or what do you call, our good customers who are helping us make this digital mines itself as a better solution. But yeah, it's still in the beta version, but there's quite a lot that we are investing in terms of building the digital mines, in terms of ensuring that your process or run in an optimized way. And if there is any improvement that you could suggest, or we could suggest using the platform, that's done, and then changes made in the process itself. That's because of the cognitive nature of the platform. Right, and then the other important thing is the enterprise release impact. This is more about a bot Um, because typically, if you look at enterprises, they would have a release strategy every 2 weeks or 2 months, and the list of the number of test cases that they would want to run would be more. So, as far as SAP is concerned, we can have a bot that can listen to the transports that's made, and it could be scheduled, or it could be more on an autonomous way. Whenever a change happens, it could prompt and run and come up the list of changes, or the impact in terms of the objects that's moved from development to quality to production. In that sense, it would kind of give you analyze the list of transports that has moved across different objects, and would come up with the list of processes that is I clicked a big one, but yeah. So across the different processes, across the different transports, it would give a list of what has been changed and what is that has to be tested. So that's the enterprise release impact itself, right? So if you really look at it, it gives at the process level the number of impacted business process. Again, this might not be. It does an impact, or it does a analysis, and if you have a total of 200 test cases, and if there are only a few that are impacted, you might want to test only that, right? So there are new cases, existing cases, and the change impact, and things like that, and the users that are involved, and the business process itself. So the complete enterprise release impact of change analysis could be managed here. Does the heat map in terms of the different changes that happens in a SAP process, and what are the low impact, the medium impact, high impact, and critical impact, and what is that should be tested and what need not be tested, right? That's a whole analysis of this enterprise release impact. And then it also links up to the process in terms of how the test cases are, and how it could be used in terms of linking up to a process. So if you really look at high impact and of business, and so you could look at the different process scope, and what is high impact here, and how it is linked to a test case, right? So that is also possible. And what made this configuration change that was made in terms of the impact analysis here, and who the user is, and what was the actual change that happened with respect to a particular transport. So all that using the technical object that is present, and the reference objects for this particular use case. And it is also linked to a test case in terms of which test case is impacted and what you do with that, right? So this is more in terms of using the product on the run mode, or the platform KTern in the run mode, and then combine that with the business productivity in terms of optimizing the processes that you might have. Right. So we had a look at the workspace, the digital workspace, the maps in terms of scanning your existing system, projects in terms of driving the complete governance for any digital transformation. It has got a dashboard as well, which where you could handle the different work item types or task types. Could be issues, test cases across different tracker. And then the transformation hub itself in terms of task issues, calendars, test cases, files, forum, and things like that, right? So you have one place where you could drive your SAP digital transformation. Of course, there's quite a lot that I'll be able to show, but I just want to do an overview. And if there is more interest in terms of doing a deep dive, we could do more of that. But yeah, that's the whole idea. And just to sum it up, as I mentioned earlier, we have a digital workplace, maps, projects, process, labs for the digital assurance, and minds for the continuous improvement. And this is more focused towards the SAP world. And coming back to the presentation I walked you through earlier. So this is the continuous platform where we saw the maps, the projects, process, labs, and minds. And yeah, we'll be happy to do more. There is a poll right now. If you're able to respond to that, then we could come back and do a one-on-one in-depth presentation. But yeah, that's it from my side for the day. Thanks for coming into this presentation. Really appreciate all your time. Stay safe. If there are any questions, I can take up that as well. So that's there is one the few questions that I'm not able to answer right now, but will definitely send a response. My team would come back and probably respond to you on a few of the questions. We are at the end of the last minute, and so thank you for joining again. I'll hand it over to Akhil. Thank you.
Thank you, Ratna, and thank you for the session as well. And to all of you who have stayed throughout the entire session, thank you to you all as well. We do have subsequent webinars planned, and you can check out our previous webinars on the website. You can follow us on LinkedIn for more updates, and anything you want to learn about the product, feel free to browse the website and get in touch with us. And on that note, I'd like to close the session. Thank you all for joining. Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.